Was that a shocker to you that folks in Asia are rocking the Buena Gente Golf brand?
It was definitely a shock, but then after seeing, doing a little bit of research, you see how a lot of things pop off over there first.
Yeah.
You know, fashion is a huge thing, just everyday wear in Asia, and they look dope from head to toe.
Three, two, one, zero, and liftoff.
Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Mission CTRL. This is your host, Ramon Peralta with Peralta Design, and we launch brands. And we've got an exciting golf episode. As you see, I'm decked out in my PD golf gear. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Jon Madera, founder and empathy-driven creator behind BuenaGenteGolf.com.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Hopefully there's like claps, and because that intro was awesome.
No,
you guys are gonna
the
put the
fans
claps
are
in the
going
background.
wild. Yeah, the fans are going wild.
Nice.
We promised them merch, so I don't know. We're gonna have to figure that part out. But yeah,
Thanks for
also join me in welcoming Jorge Peso Candelario, our sound guy today, and also our director of web development here at PD.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're all in the world, all you happy people.
All the happy people and all the Latinos, because we've got Puerto Rican here with John. I'm Dominican. We just determined you were Peruvian?
Puerto Rican.
Correct.
Puerto Rican. Nice.
So John, listen, man, I've been watching your brand online. I love the logo. We were just commenting on the bones.
Thank you.
You got the grip.
Appreciate it.
You got the grip logo. Dope brand. Just ordered a shirt. And just wanted to kind of get your take on all this, man. Introduce your brand to our listeners, but also we were talking about rolling with the punches, man. And a lot of people see these brands on social especially, and they just think it's automatically just going to blow up. But there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that we don't see, dealing with failure, taking L's, taking losses, but also taking lessons. So why don't you share some gems or some of your experience in building this brand?
Yeah. I think starting out, there's the, beginner's luck. I did the logo and I posted that, and I wanted the logo to be different just because as a creative, as a designer, I know you're with the design firm and agency, it's all the creatives. Everybody's a creative. It's just how do we express that creativity? And for me, it's always thinking outside of the box, always pushing boundaries and innovating.
So tell me, what does the Buena Gente logo mean?
Yeah, the logo is a symbol of diverse cultures merging. The brown hand with the rings represent an underrepresented audience with that style, swagger, charisma that has the rings which reflect that. And it's merged with the white glove, which represents everything that golf is known for. So the interlocking of both hands is a symbol of how these two worlds coming together work well together.
Yeah, I think it's dope. And you've got it on like hoodies, and you've got it on, I mean, was this an original drawing of yours? Tell me that story, how it came to be.
I like the idea of having a strong, powerful symbol, and I felt like the hands was something like very impactful. Plus, the interlocking of both hands, it transmitted the message, and it does it very well. So I had my kids take a picture of me like this, literally with me doing the pose of the interlocking grip, and really just traced over it in Procreate and an iPad, and then just added the rings and started messing with the rings and the different line weights. It's funny because in an Instagram video, you could see me like this, the actual picture of me posing.
Those are your actual hands in the logo.
Yes. Yeah. And then I traced over it and Procreate in the iPad. And then I created an account and I just posted it. And then the feedback I started getting just from that one post was the indicator for me that there's something here. This has legs. And so I was getting comments like, wait a second, what is this? What's going on here? Like, awesome, something for Latinos. And really
very intentional. You got the brown hand.
Yeah. Like the brown hand and the jewelry is very intentional.
Right.
It's kind of an ode to the OGs, to our tios, I say we all grow old enough to become our uncles, with the jewelry decked out and so it's kind of a representation of that charisma and that swagger that our people have, and it's very ingrained in the DNA. It feels very effortless. I look at my dad, not just because he's my dad. I look at his brothers, my uncles, and you go to Puerto Rico, it's just like it's a way that these old heads move and they operate it with just so much swagger that I wanted to be able to reflect that with the brown hand. And then the white glove is really kind of like these two worlds merging. Right. The white glove meaning golf as a whole.
Club,
yes.
The etiquette and tradition.
Yeah, exactly. And so, there's the thing in UX design that it's a quote that says, if you have to explain, UX is like a joke. If you have to explain it, it's not good. Right. And I took a lot of those, that knowledge that I've gathered over 18, 19 years of being a UX and product designer and kind of translated that into this brand. I've never done apparel in my life.
Now, what piece of advice would you have for someone? Because this is not an easy undertaking, and a lot of people say they're going to do things and don't actually execute on it, but you did. So can you share a little bit about an advice or something you learned or something you can impart on someone out there that's thinking about launching a brand of their own?
I would say the most important thing is, how do you differentiate yourself from others? Specifically in the golf space, there are brands that pop up daily by the hundreds. There's all types of brands, but really, how do you differentiate yourself? Are you just another copy paste print on a polo and an all over print of flamingos and all that type of stuff, or what makes your audience like really gravitate to your idea? I think one of the things that's really helped is not just the branding, but the storytelling. A lot of people tell me that they feel very well represented. I think one of the best comments I ever gotten from somebody that bought a polo, mind you, they weren't Latino, and they were like, I feel like all I need is a fedora and a cigar. And I was like, that's exactly what I try to do, is put people in a time and place and have them feel something. And I felt like, all right, I'm actually doing what I set out to do, is make people feel something. And I think when somebody's starting a brand, it has to make sense to the people. There has to be something that hooks them and it ties them or reminds them of something, this emotional pull towards your brand. And I think that's one of the really, really important things to get a strong following, repeated customers that will advocate out there, because those are the best. That's the best marketing, is that people that buy your stuff can go out there and say, you got to check out this brand. So if you can make people do that and move them to advocate for your brand, then the rest is easy.
Awesome.
Like, I want this logo for people to see it and have a visceral, immediate reaction. And that is exactly how people react to the logo. But aside from that, I want it to tell a story. And if you permit me, I'll say this. The second year I went to the PGA show, I had people coming up to me that I've never seen and telling me, you know what I love about the logo? And they tell me. And a few different people had a different take on it, but it was all right. They were all right. and it was all correct. Their interpretation and their perspective of how they took it in, and that for me was like, okay, this design is whole. It's complete. It hits it on the nail. So yeah, really, that was the start of it. Is just putting the logo out there. People were like, "This is awesome." And then 6 months later, I did something I didn't. Now in hindsight, I had no business being in the PGA show. I got a booth, and I had
Not
samples.
cheap.
I had prototypes. Yeah, it's not cheap. I had just a few prototypes, a few polos. I did have T-shirts and stuff, but you don't go there with the intention of selling. Um, since I got that booth really late in the year in December, and January was the PGA show, I was back in the cuts by the bathrooms, like really hidden.
And that place takes you days to see everything. I mean, it's huge. You went to the one in Orlando, I'm assuming.
Yeah. And I was behind a really huge brand. So they had huge walls. With all that being said, I couldn't keep up with the foot traffic, with the amount of people coming to my booth. Yeah. My brother lives in Orlando, and he stopped by to see, to experience the booth. And he told me, dude, you're lucky you're not in a prime spot, because you wouldn't be able to keep up with this many people. So we had, reporters, actually 3 days after the PGA show, or on the last day, we came out in Golf Digest, like a small snippet saying like, these are new brands. Well, that reporter was sending everybody to us. Like Cobra Puma was coming to us. Then they would tell other people in Sunday Golf. And that's where I met the CEO of Sunday Golf Bags, the CEO of Vice Golf. And so that was just 6 months after I started. Like everything just took off. But with that, I didn't know what to do with all that attention, really.
Yeah. You mentioned you're more of a creative, not a business guy. Do you think a lot of the L's have come from focusing more on creative and less on business, or have you since brought someone on to handle that side of it?
I think a lot of the L's have to do with the business, not being business savvy. I think in not getting out of my own way. And this is interesting because this is a topic that I'm just starting to lean into. Literally yesterday, I was looking at YouTube videos. How do I get out of my own way, from these gurus? Because perfectionism is a huge thing that I try to chase. It's a big part of what I try to do. I want things to look good, be polished. And I feel like it's my calling, it's my job to give people that are underrepresented or overlooked quality material and products, because it's just not, you don't see many things for, let's say, underrepresented audiences that feel and look good. Like you pick it up and you're like, all right, wow, right. Somebody put attention and detail, effort, energy into me. And that's really what I want to do. And to be able to get to that level, I spend a lot of time on things. And with that time goes weeks, months. And I could honestly say I've lost a lot of opportunity in the last 2 years. I could honestly be have a bigger reach by now.
Right. So maybe the progression is you're moving in the right direction, but it's slower than it probably could have been.
Exactly.
Yeah. And now you mentioned data and research earlier in our conversation and how important that is. I mean, getting feedback at a show is definitely kind of like having your own focus group. What has the data shown you that you weren't quite expecting?
Well, actually, at the show was one of them, right? I there are people. There were some folks from Latin America with their blazers, coming from all different parts of the world to the PGA show in Orlando. And they'd look at my backdrop that said Latino-owned, diversity focused. It was huge. And they would look at it and kind of scoff at it and keep walking. And I was like, this is interesting. I would think you'd be like really into this.
And were
like
these Americans, or they were from other Latin American countries?
Yes, Hispanics, yeah. And so I think that's really fascinating. Yeah, it's fascinating because you go with that in mind, that you're like, if somebody from a country club in Spain or Mexico or wherever sees this, they're gonna be like, I need this in my pro shop. But it wasn't that, And I think one of the things that was really fascinating is that streetwear became really popular. Golf streetwear became really popular in Asia. It's huge. So when I started getting a lot of orders with these names that I was like, this gotta be a scam. This is some type of fraud or something. The funny thing is that this Asian couple went up to me in the PGA show, and they're like, we love your stuff. We buy it all the time. We're shipping it out to Asia and all these different areas and regions, and we're trying to get your name out there.
Wow.
And people are scooping it up and buying it. And I was like, man, that's fascinating. And I could keep going with the data. Actually, something as recent as last week and last month that was very eye-opening for me. I don't know if we have enough time for that. But so I moved to Southern Oregon 3 years ago, and I just never really, I never really got out of the house to mingle and interact and meet a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, and stuff like that here, because I never thought this is the audience, or my target audience.
Right.
And just this past year, I started to get out there, and people were like, wow, this is incredible. Like, this is awesome. I was like, man, that's fascinating. I would have never thought that this group of people are so open and welcoming to this idea. And then I gave a pitch or a talk at an economic summit here in Southern Oregon last month. And rompió, like everybody was like, this is incredible. And then last week, I had the opportunity to pitch in front of a all Latino crowd, completely Latinos, and it was a pure dud. It was just like, and I was like, wow, it's, for me, it's very, very fascinating that you could think something, create something for a group of people, and yes, it's still mostly all Latinos that get my stuff, but it is fascinating seeing how many other people from other walks of life are so they embrace not only the message behind it, but the design, the Latino culture with the the golf polos that have guayabera patterns and stuff like that. Everybody's has embraced the brand, and that's fascinating. It's awesome to see that. And then there are things that you're very surprised to see that you're like, oh, you're not you're not too into this, I thought you would be, but no. So it's those type of learnings.
Yeah, that could point to some deeper psychological issues that those people may have that are not going to be solved with a clothing brand.
No, and just for me as a brand owner, right? Know where you are know who you're targeting and where you're putting your effort. Like I've been doing so many pitches recently. My wife and actually a friend of mine both said the same thing. They were like, at some point you need to know what's worth, or where is it worth it to preach your mission, your vision, and how you're doing something that not many people are doing in this space, in the sport of golf.
Absolutely. Definitely got to know your audience, and then where are they? Go there, speak to them there. In general, I can't wait to hear more. I want to hear about how you came up with the name. Clearly you're Buena Gente, so I could see that.
I try to be that.
Yeah, you try to be, but these are great gems, man, because I think a lot of us start and we assume too much, and then we get surprised, and the ability to be able to to adapt, and then but stay true to your mission. You definitely feel like someone that's grounded in your mission and believe in it. And I can't wait to hear your story when we come back right after these words.
Wondering what to do with your old smartphones or outdated computer equipment? Do you know what hackers can do with your sensitive personal data when you are leaving behind on these hard drives? The team at National E-Waste Services understands the importance of protecting sensitive information and the environment. Their services also include the safe and discreet disposal of battery banks, cables, phones, and more. For more information, visit nationalewasteservices.com.
We want brands.
And we're back. Please help me once again to welcome Jon Madera, the founder of BuenaGenteGolf.com.
Thanks for having me,
Jon. Man, you dropped some gems on us in that first segment. I mean, so you kept it real. Very surprising, but again, we're tapping into some deeper psychology. So
yeah.
we're gonna keep it to the brand. One of the things that you shared earlier was how popular it is in Asia, and it made me think that in Asia, they really, I mean, there are salsa bands in Asia. They love hip hop.
Yeah.
It's like they love our culture. So was that a shocker to you that folks in Asia are rocking the Buena Gente Golf brand?
It was definitely a shock, but then after seeing, doing a little bit of research, you see how a lot of things pop off over there first.
Yeah.
Fashion is a huge thing, just everyday wear in Asia, and they look dope from head to toe. And so I found it really interesting that a lot of the big brands here, Malbon and Eastside, are so popular over there, and you wouldn't think because of the brown figure or character from Eastside, they wouldn't really latch onto that. But they have, and the same thing with my brand is, as I mentioned earlier, there are people from all walks of life really that have been drawn to not only the message but the graphic, and they tell me all the time, this is awesome. I love what you're doing for the sport. Awesome logo, graphic. But I'm always in a way surprised when people from certain regions of the world are like, when are you going to drop more? When are you going to restock? And I'm like, I would have never thought you wanted this, but it's fascinating. I love it. It's great to see that it's embraced by all types of people.
Yeah. And I love to learn more about you, your story. So just tell us, how did this all come to be?
So I think one of my very, very early experiences with golf is we lived in Long Island. My dad was, he worked for the union. He was a welder. And one day he just got home with a driver and one of those little wiffle ball golf balls. And it's like, you wouldn't expect a welder in New York City picking up this sport as a hobby. And I was the youngest of 5 kids, so there was a lot of time that I was alone. So I would just get the driver, which was much bigger than what was fit for my size, and I just go swinging at it. And I don't think a wiffle ball really gives you the feedback that you're supposed to get. So I've had a slice since I was 10 or 11.
Over the top. The over-the-top swing.
What do they call it? Over-the-top king.
Yeah. Exactly.
The final boss. Final boss over the top. But when I got to 9th grade, my dad said, "You know what? I'm retiring. I'm moving to Puerto Rico." So we had no choice. We moved to Puerto Rico. And I studied there in my high school years. And during that time, one of the expressions I always liked, I would always hear people say is, "Oh, that person's buena gente." Always to describe somebody that was humble, approachable, fun-loving, hospitable, right? When you and I met Jorge, although I haven't seen him, but I know his background, we can all agree that our parents and their parents and our ancestors were people that would fix a plate of food for people they didn't know, that would open the doors to their house just because hospitality is part of who we are. And we learned that also from our parents. We're very given people, and that's one of the main aspects and qualities of a buena gente, which means good person or good people. And aside from the meaning, I always kind of like the way it sounded, the way it rolled off the tongue. In fact, somebody that doesn't speak English the other day told me, I love the way it rolls off the tongue, buena gente, you know? And so, you know, I moved to California once I graduated from Ponce High in Ponce, Puerto Rico. I always knew I wanted to be a creative. And my sister lived in California. I did some research. I moved in with her to study in the Art Institute in San Francisco, and met my wife in college, in a different college when I moved. And so I spent 20 years in California. And when I started getting into leadership positions, I started designing less. I felt like less creative. And I felt the need to do something to keep my skills sharp, my mind sharp, and just get back into the creative world. And that's when I started Mayo Ketchup. So first I started before Buena Gente was Mayo Ketchup. So the idea was expressions and sayings that our parents would say. I had a shirt that said Tate Quieto. And then that was
That's great.
that actually, you know, one of Residente, Ricky Martin, Pirulo's Congueros wore my shirt. A pretty popular Puerto Rican comedian was wearing Mayo Ketchup stuff. So it started to get a little traction.
Yeah.
And then so the thing for me is anytime there was like Puerto Rican festival, salsa festival, I would see these shirts, but everything looked typed up. Like there was no real effort put into these. So I wanted to create shirts that were actually designed, like drawn, the lettering and proper typography. But outside of that, it was, expressions from salsa singers from the 70s and 80s, what my dad and my parents would listen to. And those are the original bad boys. Those are like what reggaeton was 20 years ago.
And all those.
Yeah, all those sayings, you know, sacude doble fea. Like, you know, like, what? That's sick. That's a bar. And I would try to draw it and stuff. And the funny thing is that people that didn't know about salsa, liked salsa, would buy my shirts, you know. And then I got tired of explaining what mayo ketchup was. So I was like, oh, that's a sauce we use for fried foods. You know, it's just mixing mayo and ketchup exactly how it sounds, but adding more spices, garlic, and all this stuff. And it's just like it became kind of like tiring. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna switch it to Buena Gente, and I switched it to Buena Gente brand. So Buena Gente brand was before Buena Gente Golf.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I moved to Oregon 3 years ago, and just one day I was real deep into Buena Gente brand. And one day I was like, wait a second, is there anything out there that represents us as an audience, as a whole? Like, what's out there for Latinos? And that's when I did a little bit of light research and didn't really see anything. And what I saw was very focused on one country, one region, you know, in the name of the brand and the designs and everything. And I said, you know what, I want something for all Latinos to feel like they're part of this, you know, something that represents all Latinos, not just one country. And then
by this point, were you golfing regularly? Is that?
Yeah. I have a story in one of my pitches that I share that, you know, when I started playing more regularly, I was already married. I left my golf club in a previous hole, as many beginner golfers would do. I went back and there was a really young guy about to tee off, and he handed me the club, and I said, thanks, bro. And he looked at me almost like disgusted, and he said, bro. And for me, the message was clear. Like, me and you are not the same. Like, the way you look, who you are, where you're from, you know. And I didn't pick up a golf club for many years after that.
Oh, wow.
So when I started to get back into it, you know, my kids were already born. I was getting back out there with some friends. And once I moved to Southern Oregon, I didn't really have anybody around here. But I just get out there, and little by little, I'm becoming more of a, yeah, people think because I own a brand, I'm good. And I'm like, no, bro, you got to see me. It's a sight to behold for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things I'm curious about is if you self-funded it, have investors, are moonlighting, have a full-time gig, and then you do this on the side. Like, what over the last few years as you've been growing this, what's been how does it all break down job-wise?
Yeah, so I bootstrapped this whole thing. And so it was really no need or no, I didn't have a personal, something I was going to get out of it, right? Like I didn't do it for those reasons of making money. I actually didn't know how many brands were coming up at the time. So when I did it, I was doing well as a VP of product design for a data company. And then January 2024 was the end of my time with the data company. And ever since then, for over 18, 19 months, I've been doing this, with hopes of finding an investor, of, it's either that or getting a business partner. I think one thing that's really interesting to say is that I've had talks and actually gone into partnerships with people, and after a couple of months, it just kind of falls apart. And so after 2 years of trying to partner with somebody, and it's been 5 different people, it just hasn't worked out. And we got to look at the signs, right? The universe sometimes is like trying to make it very obvious for us, like, hey, dude, just keep going alone.
Yeah,
at some point,
exactly.
I know I'm going to have a team, but right now I'm bootstrapping it, doing everything on my own, and hopefully very soon we'll get an investor that says, they see the value in all this, they see the potential, and then put some fuel to this.
Yeah, well, I mean, I see, Eastside Golf's an example. I mean, like you said, I think the timing is right. Right now, there's the game of golf has gotten more casual. It's accessible to more people. We have like JJ Spawn just won. Mexican, Filipino, American. Back in my day, I'm probably older than you, but back in my day, like Tiger Woods was probably the only brown person I saw on TV playing, and he gave me a lot of pride to go out and play. But now, there's Varner, there's Finau, there's many of us, and there's that swag too that comes along with it, and the brands that are coming out now have a greater appeal. And not only are you instilling pride, I believe, with these brands, but you're making people feel more comfortable being out there. They can be themselves. They can, and so I think the timing is right. And I think that what do we know better than the universe, right? So if these partnerships aren't working out, it's just that it's just not the right partner, and you keep pushing forward. Tell me a little bit about the website. I went on there. A lot of the items are sold out due to demand, but I also want to know like what new products are coming out, what the long-term play is. I know investors and partners are in the future, but how do you manage or how do you determine, do I go with a new hoodie? Do I go with a new hat? Like what's some of your decision-making process when it comes to what new products to put out?
Yeah, everything on Job was kind of not planned. But when I started this, the original goal was to have proper on-course wear. Polos like the one you're wearing, quarter zip-ups, look good out there. And before starting anything, I just put the logo on some t-shirts and hoodies and or crew neck sweatshirts, and really the streetwear stuff sells a lot. But that wasn't my original intention. So when working on polos, on quarter zip-ups, on wind jackets and all the stuff, it takes a long time. So in the meantime, dropping t-shirts, different designs, and really there's a vault of a ton of ideas. It's just finding the right time to drop it.
Yeah.
And but also I'm just putting all my energy and effort towards the polos. I want proper on-course wear, but what's coming up is polos with two different fabrics. So a different fabric will, in a way, emulate like a guayabera pattern.
Kind of like paying homage to it.
Yes. Yeah. Using different techniques, not just print, but like a puff print for like a textured feel on the polos. And then just having fun and doing some different wild ideas. Like I did a golf glove. I don't know if you saw that has a silicone pinky ring on it. And when I posted that, dude, people went nuts. People went nuts on Instagram. They were like, dude, I'll buy a box of those. And it took a long time to get that down, but that was just the prototype.
Yeah.
And I posted that picture 2 years ago, and I still haven't done the gloves, you know? So it's finding the right manufacturer, you know. Now I'm learning that in Indonesia, that's the best, you know, that's where all FootJoy, TaylorMade, that's where they all make their gloves. So I barely just got in contact with that manufacturer. And hopefully in the future we'll have some golf gloves with the pinky ring on it.
Yeah, so you're not taking L's, man. You're taking lessons. You continuing
to
learn and get better and doing this at your pace. I just feel like as a creative, I'm an artist too. I'm really a painter. Really, that's what I went to school for, and I ended up getting more into advertising and marketing. But I know what you mean about as you get higher into leadership, not really utilizing your gifts, and it's almost this haunting feeling that you should be creating. Yeah. And I feel like this is a good vehicle for you. You're doing it, and you've also always seemed to have been really in touch with your culture, like this sense of pride of being Puerto Rican or being Latino, because not every kid is picking up on all those phrases, especially an American, a stateside Puerto Rican, and you're picking up on that always. And just kind of, I don't know. I think you're instilling a sense of pride in yourself and in others with all of these catchphrases and things, right? That are relatable. And I'm sure the ancestors are proud, and that your parents are proud that you're doing it, because there's that other phrase, come mierda, when you like deny who you are. Yeah. To try to assimilate or try to be something, knowing that they're not gonna accept you. So just be yourself.
Exactly.
Don't pretend. And I get that. I get that out of the gear.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. So I'm real proud of you, man. I'm glad to give you this platform. Maybe share with our listeners what you see coming down the pike, how they can like sign up for updates. Maybe share some of your social handles and things like that, so we can be on the lookout.
Yeah. I'm going to continue with the t-shirts. I think the t-shirts is the easiest way to get into boutiques. Boutiques is becoming a really popular thing where there's small golf shops that have a lot of underground streetwear brands. So been actually just before speaking with you, I spoke to one out in Australia. A distributor in Japan has been hitting me up for 3 years wanting to get their stuff out there in Mexico. So really that's what's coming up, is hopefully just scale the brand, get more eyeballs on it. And if anybody that's listening would like to have some representation in their area, contact at buenagentegolf.com. You go to the website, sign up for the newsletter on the homepage. And that'll let you know, like what you saw, a lot of things are sold out. When I do drop shirts, new designs, they go fairly quickly. And so that is an opportunity to be in the know. I don't plan to have that problem for a long time, because the idea is to scale and always have stock, right? Right now, this is the sold outs could be a good problem to have, right? The exclusivity of the brand, and also the scarcity. That's the word I was trying to look for. It helps, but I do want to get the gear to as many people as possible, and whoever would like to rep it. So best way to be in the know is to go on buenagentegolf.com, sign up for the newsletter. All my socials is Buena Gente Golf. So Buena Gente Golf at Instagram, TikTok, and TikTok I'm a little more casual, so I just do like everyday stuff there. Instagram I try to keep the posts a little more polished. I'm not sure if I'm doing a great job with that, but yeah, it's a mixture there. What's coming out is I'm very, very proud of this wind jacket I'm working on. It's a 3-in-1. It unzips here to become a vest and unzips by the elbow to be a short sleeve. And it has the actual, it's not printed, so it actually has the actual pleat stitches stitched on there. So it's a Guayabera wind jacket that's coming out hopefully for fall winter collection. Super pumped for that. New polos, the restock of polos that sold out last July when I did a video on Instagram and TikTok that went viral, actually in both platforms at different times. I uploaded it at the same day, but yeah, so that's really where you could find and be up to date with my process, creative process, and the things that are upcoming.
Awesome, man. If you're ever in San Diego, my son lives out there. He'll get you out on Torrey.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, for sure. I love San Diego.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And I need to get out to Oregon. That's on my bucket list. Yeah. What's the golf like out there?
Beautiful. In the fall, it's beautiful. Yeah. Really is. Right now in Southern Oregon, it's blazing hot, but it's always nice. You know, this whole state is like a national park. There's a lot of trees, a lot of green. So, mi casa tu casa. Whenever you come, hit me up, man.
Awesome, my brother. We'll work on that slice. I got some tips to try to fix
Thanks,
that,
man.
So hey, man, listen,
awesome.
I see a lot in your future. You know, I can see you collabing with. You know, there's no reason you shouldn't collab with Malbone or Kith or any of these major brands. You've got a solid brand here. Just I love your attitude and the patience and the vision. I wish you nothing but the best. I can't wait to get my hands on that windbreaker that's coming out.
Thank you, man. I appreciate the support. I appreciate you giving me this platform to get the word out. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Everybody check out buenagentegolf.com. All right, Jon, thanks for being on our show, man.
Thank you.
All right, keep swinging. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening to this episode of Mission Control. Until next time, this is your host, Ramon Peralta with Peralta Design, and we launch brands.